live on Facebook at the Get On Up with Reverend Shane Harris Facebook page. And we are live on KTAV.TV. We're coming to you right where you are to talk to you about all of the important stuff from Washington, D.C. to your local community, and reminding you that you cannot give up, but you must get up. Today, I begin my show by sharing a thought with you about what I've been reflecting on. One of the things I shared on my Instagram at Shane Harris Now this morning is that we are in a microwave society where people are only interested in tomorrow's success, overnight dreams becoming success. But let me tell you that food is always better when you cook it in the stove. Cook your food in the stove and be about the long-term goals and plans of making your agenda a long-term goal. Do you want to be 80 and strong, or do you want to be 25 and strong? But you ought to want to be both, not just one over the other. The way you do that is by cooking your food in a manner that builds momentum over time and doesn't get immediate gratification. If you want to be successful, you'll think about the long term, not the short term of what are you doing today and what is the other person doing. Because the Bible tells us that the race is not given to the swift. There's a story about the turtle and the hare. You can either be the hare who ran fast or the turtle who was building momentum, because the turtle eventually beat the hare. That's my morning word to you today. I begin my show with our first call-in. He is coming to us from Phoenix, Arizona, and he is running for office there in the state of Arizona. Pastor Redeem Robinson from Phoenix, Arizona. Good morning, Reverend.
Good morning.
And we're very excited here on Get On Up about your race there in the state of Arizona. Tell us a little bit about what you are doing and how your campaign is going. And first of all, what you're running for.
So I am running for Arizona State Senate in Legislative District 30, which covers West Phoenix and Glendale, Arizona. Currently have 3 other opponents. I am the only African-American, the only non-Latino candidate who is running in my district. And of course, I am running as a Democrat.
And that's very exciting. How is the campaign going on the ground? What are you seeing there? First of all, you are about my age. How old are you?
I'm 28.
28 years old and running for office there in Arizona. What inspired you to run for office there, and why did you do it?
Well, I'll have to say it's partly because we have so many legislators who are not doing their job to fight for the people. They're letting public education fail. They're letting our students fail. They are funding our prison systems more than our public schools. And I figured this is a problem, so I must jump into this race and be a part of the solution, not just fighting from the outside, but fighting from the inside.
Right, and you and what you're doing is very important. You were coming up during the Trump era. You were a major activist there and have been an activist there in Arizona when Trump came to town on. And the rioting that was happening at his rally, correct?
Yes, absolutely.
So Redeem, in just what are you seeing right now, and what do you need as far as support on the ground in Arizona?
Right now, we actually have a great opportunity here in Arizona. Just a couple of days ago, we seen a major victory in Alabama where a Democrat actually won the race in Alabama, that's unheard of. We actually have the potential to do that here in Arizona by flipping our U.S. Senate race.
Right.
We had the opportunity to flip a couple congressional seats. And catch this, we had the opportunity in 2018 to flip the Arizona State Senate from a Republican majority, which has been a Republican majority for years. It
Wow.
has the possibility to become a Democratic majority in 2018. We are down by 2 seats.
Wow. Well, we're going to keep watching and supporting however we can and mobilizing support. How do people get a hold of your campaign? We're going to keep pumping you up because you're my good friend and I know your values and I know what you stand for. How do people connect with your campaign?
So they can visit my website at www.robinsonforsenate.org. That's www.robinsonforsenate.org. And if you're listening, you probably live in another state or not in Arizona, but you can still get involved in the campaign by we have an opportunity for you to make calls to voters in my district from your living room. You have the opportunity to even donate $5 a month to the campaign.
Donate. There's the word. Donate.
Yes,
that's the big word, y'all.
Important word.
Donate to his campaign. Give money, $5, $10. I'm going to give to his campaign. Donate. D-O-N-A-T-E. Donate. There we go. Absolutely. That's the word.
Without money, a campaign cannot run.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. And a movement cannot go without money. You've got to have stabilization and funds. Y'all go support. What's the website people can give to your campaign?
Is www.robinsonforsenate.org.
www.robinsonforsenate.org. We're going on a quick break. When we get back, thank you, Reverend Redeem Robinson from Arizona. Redeem Robinson is running for the Senate there. Am I correct?
Yes, sir.
And we've got to get behind them and support. I'm going to go chip in 5 or 10 today. You ought to follow me and go chip in some money on his website. Thank you, Redeem. We're going on a quick break. When we get back, I've got Reverend Charles Williams from the Midwest, Detroit, Michigan. We're going to be talking about the whole scandal around this Representative Conyers having to step down because of allegations. Charles Williams wants to know, where is the $17 million that has been used on sexual allegations across the country? And he's challenging Speaker Paul Ryan to give us some answers. He's going to join me for 5 minutes from 9:15 a.m. Pacific Standard Time to 9:20 a.m. Pacific Standard Time to discuss that and more. Reverend Charles Williams is with me next, our Midwest Regional Director from National Action Network. And then at 9:20, I keep taking call-ins. 619-431-3186. Stay right there. The opinions expressed on the Shane Harris Show by our guest.
You are listening to the San Diego station of inspiration. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. KTAV Radio. For more information on how you can advertise your business, event, or services, please visit us online at KTAV.tv or call 619-246-6131. We are also offering 30 and 60-minute time slots for your ministry or podcast. For more information on how you can become a part of KTAV Station of Inspiration lineup, please call 619-246-6131 or visit us online at ktav.tv/ministry.
Hey, everybody, this is Reverend Shane Harris. Every Friday, I hold a live radio show at 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on www.ktav.tv. The show is called Get On Up with Reverend Shane Harris, and we discuss all of the country's issues, from Washington, D.C. to your local community, social dialogue, political impact, and strategy talk. For all of our communities to realize that we don't have to get down. We got to get up and know what we're doing. So it's strategy time every Friday, 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time on Get On Up with Reverend Shane Harris on KTAV.
You are listening to the San Diego station of inspiration. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. KTAV Radio. For more information on how you can advertise your business, event, or services, please visit us online at KTAV.tv or call 619-246-6131. We are also offering 30 and 60-minute time slots for your ministry or podcast. For more information on how you can become a part of KTAV station of inspiration,
we're getting ready to go live, y'all. Stay right there. We're going in just a moment.
246-6131 or visit us online at ktav.tv/ministry.
We are back here live on Get On Up with Reverend Shane Harris. Listening live around the country. Go to YouTube, Bill Brown, KTAV. You can listen live on YouTube and watch live. You can watch live stream on Facebook at the Get On Up with Reverend Shane Harris Facebook page. And you can listen live on KTAV.tv, 89.1 FM here in the city. Thank you for sticking right there and tuning in. We're talking now with Reverend Charles Williams. He is the Midwest Regional Director of the National Action Network, and he is a soldier who's been in this fight for a long time. Reverend Williams, thank you for joining me.
Thank you for having me. Certainly, we appreciate your leadership and all the great work that you're doing in San Diego, and we ask that as you continue to do this work, that you stay focused. I tell you one thing for sure, is that after watching so much across the country, I never knew that San Diego had so many great issues that needed to be addressed. And we see that there is a fighter on the West Coast, and his name is the Reverend Shane Harris. Thank you for the work you're doing.
I appreciate that. It means it's an honor coming from you. Reverend Williams, you've been on the social justice grind for a long time, fighting for issues, standing for the people. You stood when Flint was, which is still, people are still not having the clean water that they deserve. You stood, you were on the front lines before that was ever a national story. Here you are again with this whole issue regarding the congressional piece around the asking about the $17 million that has gone into settling these sexual or these allegation cases from Congress. And you were on it, but you came hard after Representative Conyers had to step down due to allegations. These weren't even proven situations, but stepped down due to allegations that he made payoffs to these things out of the congressional fund. And you've been saying, all right, we'll accept that. We understand that. But we now want to see other congressional members come forth who have been using that pool of money. Tell us a little bit about what you've been doing around this request and why you started it.
Well, first, let me thank you for your leadership once again. I mean, I know San Diego chapter and yourself have been leading the charge, and with Darrell Ison and some of the other elected officials, holding them accountable around this issue. But quite frankly, I mean, it's pretty simple. What's good for the goose is good for the gander. You can't utilize an issue to target one congressman for doing something that over 200 other congressmen are doing, as well as, and has spent $17 million of American people's money doing it. That's wrong. And so what we're saying is that Nancy Pelosi, as well as Speaker Paul Ryan, they need to release the names of those who have done this. Now, we understand we can't release the cases. We don't want them to release the cases. We understand we can't even have them try the cases in public opinion. But all of these congressional representatives that have settled sexual harassment lawsuits and racial discrimination lawsuits, as well as American Disability Act lawsuits, the American people deserve to know who they are. And if inquiry leads them to an ethics investigation, they deserve to have to go through that ethics investigation. You can't have Congress with peekaboo justice, meaning gotcha justice. Only if you get exposed is the only way we're going to do anything. No, that's not right. What's right is for all the congressional representatives to be held to the same standard that they held John Conyers, as well as the same standard that they held Al Franken and anybody else. The pressure of resigning for John Conyers was based off of allegations that were made. They weren't proven in court. There was no factual basis. They were only allegations. In other words, I can say Shane Harris drove to Detroit, Michigan, hit me over the head, and flew back the next day. And I could go to the police. And if I went to the police station and said, well, Shane Harris came over here and hit me, they're going to say, well, where's the facts? Our question is, in these types of scenarios, where are the facts? And those facts deserve to be flushed out with an ethics investigation.
Right. Now, you recently, with NAN leadership there in the Midwest, held a press conference at Speaker Ryan's offices. And from my understanding, they ditched out that day. They weren't at work for some reason. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, of course, they closed the office because this was going to be an opportunity for them to have to answer some questions. After we had the press conference, I want to thank those in Milwaukee and Chicago who joined me at that press conference. But after we had the press conference, as well as from Detroit, and Ohio, I'm sorry, sister, she'd get mad at me if I didn't mention Ohio. So after the press conference in Ohio, he released a statement that they are working on something that will create a greater transparency. But I think what's even more important is that we can't just hit a lick and quit. We just can't have an issue, run it for a minute, and walk away from it. We got to hold it to the very end. So we are upping our ante. Next week we're going to Washington, D.C. to deal with this with some of our congressional representatives. We have some congressional representatives from Tennessee that sponsored a bill to release all of the names and expose all of those, as well as to kill the fund that those legislators are negotiating these agreements with. I mean, all of this is because of our work, but we can't stop. We got to make sure that we keep going.
That's right, Reverend. What are the next sort of push, because you have been literally the start of this Release the Names campaign. What is the push across the nation for people in other cities and around the regions to do regarding moving forward?
What I'd like folks to do across the country, if you're listening from wherever you are, as well as if you are in the San Diego area or California, Los Angeles area, we need you to call your congressperson, Democrat or Republican. Understand this. It's not a Democrat issue, not a Republican issue. We won't get into that.
Right.
This is an issue for American peoples, the dollars that American people have negotiated, or congressional representatives have negotiated settlements. Some may be solid settlements, some of them may not be so solid.
Yep.
But this is an important issue, and so people should call their congressional representative and say, hey, where do you stand on this? One, and two, you need to be calling on your legislator. I want to be very clear, and I want to say this again because I think people get it mixed up. It's not a Democrat issue, not a Republican issue.
Nope.
This is American people's issue,
yep.
And it's calling on transparency in United States Congress. We shouldn't have any problems with that on either side. As a matter of fact, that should be the only issue that join us together. We got to get people to understand that you just cannot do things in the dark and with the American people's money. It's just not. It's not right, and we're not going to allow it to happen. And then, secondly, we won't continue to let these aha and gotcha moments. Congressman Conyers was in Congress for over 52 years. He had settled lawsuits over those 52 years, and no one ever said anything. There was no need for an ethics investigation. There was no need for a conversation. There was no need for anything. Mm. But the minute his name hit the media, everybody want to say, well, he need to do something. Well, that's understood. But if he needs to do something, then what about the other 200 some odd congressmen that have settled these same lawsuits.
Where there's not even
allow them to,
where there's not even clear transparency that they even paid out lawsuits, which is important.
It's not even clear transparency, and more importantly, these weren't lawsuits that were validated within a court or an investigation. These are only lawsuits that were that were based off of allegations. In other words, if somebody alleged you do something, then you can decide, well, I don't want to go through this is a nuisance. It's like a nuisance settlement. I don't want to go through the issues of what I got to deal with if the public gets found out or catches wind. So in other words, what I'll do is I'll just settle this, give the person $20,000, $30,000, $40,000, $50,000, and everybody walks away. That's the way they have been doing this in the dark. We're saying no more. It's time to cut the lights on so the roaches are scattered.
That's right, and they're scattering. Thank you so much, Reverend Charles Williams, for your leadership. And we are going to stay tuned and be right behind you on this push, because it's good for all of us to question both parties, Democrats and Republicans. As you said, this is not a partisan issue. This is a bipartisan effort. And, you know, this really, I think we're in the times where Dr. King was, where it was not about Democrats or Republicans. It was about our agenda and getting what we need to get done for our people and our constituency. And that's all that matters. Thank you, Reverend Charles Williams, for your leadership, our Midwest Regional Director of National Action Network, and a real strong leader nationally who stood up when Flint has been under crisis. He stood up before Flint was a national story. He's standing up again, saying we've got to question these congressional members on all sides of the country, and we've got to really lay out the transparency, release the names. Thank you, Reverend Charles Williams.
Thank you.
All right, we're going on a quick break. When we get back, I will be talking with our politics panel. You want to stay tuned and stay locked in. Our politics panel is next. I'll take a couple more call-ins and then I'll begin our politics panel. Amos Jones from Washington, D.C. A lot to talk about. Stay right there. From Roy Moore to Trump this morning telling police get harsher. Oh yeah, we got a lot to talk about. Stay right there.
Hey everybody, this is Reverend Shane Harris. Every Friday, I hold a live radio show at 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on www.ktav.tv. The show is called Get On Up with Reverend Shane Harris, and we discuss all of the country's issues, from Washington, D.C. to your local community, social dialogue, political impact, and strategy talk. For all of our communities to realize that we don't have to get down. We got to get up and know what we're doing. So it's strategy time. Every Friday, 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time on Get On Up with Reverend Shane Harris on KTAV.tv.
You are listening to the San Diego station of inspiration. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. KTAV Radio. For more information on how you can advertise your business, event, or services, please visit us online at ktav.tv or call 619-246-6131. We are also offering 30 and 60-minute time slots for your ministry or podcast. For more information on how you can become a part of KTAV Station of Inspiration lineup, please call 619-246-6131 or visit us online at ktav.tv/ministry.
Hey everybody, this is Reverend Shane Harris. Every Friday, I hold a live radio show at 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on www.KTAV.TV. The show is called Get On Up with Reverend Shane Harris, and we discuss all of the country's issues from Washington, D.C. to your local community, social dialogue, political impact, and strategy talk. For all of our communities to realize that we don't have to get down. We got to get up and know what we're doing. So it's strategy time every Friday, 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time on Get On Up with Reverend Shane Harris on KTAV.TV.
You are listening to the San Diego station of inspiration. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. KTAV Radio. For more information on how you can advertise your business, event, or services, please visit us online at KTAV.TV or call 619-246-6131. We are also offering 30 and 60-minute time slots for your ministry or podcast. For more information on how you can become a part of KTAV Station of Inspiration lineup, please call 619-246-6131 or visit us online at ktav.tv/ministry.
And hello. Good morning. I hope you're staying locked right here on Get On Up with Reverend Shane Harris on Facebook Live. We're live on the Get On Up with Reverend Shane Harris Facebook page. We are live on KTAV.TV and we're live on YouTube now on Bill Brown KTAV. You can go watch on YouTube. You can watch on Facebook. You can watch live online or listen live online. With that being said, I'm taking a couple more call-ins, and then we're going into our politics panel. I'm talking with Jess Markham from Riverside, California.
Yo, what's up, Doc? What's going on, man?
Doc, what's good?
Man.
What's the word?
Man, the word for the day, man, is forgiveness, man. Forgiveness. I had a couple friends just passed away, man, but I don't believe they forgave the person who did some things to them, man. But I just want to encourage the people, man. If you have some unforgiveness in your heart, man, just forgive the person, man, who hurted you, man, who caused trauma, or some things that you've been through, man. Forgiveness is so powerful, man, that it could free you. It can cause you to walk into your destiny, man. So I just want to encourage the listeners, man, just to forgive, man. This season, this holiday, this year, we're going into a new year, man, which is serious, man. We're going to a serious time that we're living in some days, man, ahead of us, man. So forgiveness is key, man. So I just want to encourage the listeners, man, just forgive, man. Forgive. So God can forgive you.
Yep,
Yes, sir.
That's right, Doc. That's right. And forgiveness is important because if we do not forgive ourselves or other people, we're holding grudges. And that stops us from pursuing our vision and our goals and everything that God has called for us in where we're headed in our vision.
Yes, sir.
Very important.
Yes, sir.
The word of the day, y'all heard it from Jess Markham from Riverside. Forgiveness. You got to forgive in order to move forward. So for those of y'all out there that are holding grudges against family members, forgiveness. For those of y'all out there that are holding grudges against your ex, forgiveness. Oh, now, Jess, you know, I done been down this street before. I had to forgive many exes. And many exes had to forgive me. Forgiveness. So
that's the key, Doc.
And here's the thing about forgiveness. You're giving something, you're getting back. So don't think you just giving it to be higher than somebody. You are giving something that you have to ask back someday. Because you're going to make mistakes.
Right.
All right, y'all. Word of the day is forgiveness. All that food you ate on Thanksgiving and now you're wondering why you ain't at the gym, forgiveness. And and all that cake you was eating, now you got forgiveness. See, forgiveness works in all different shapes and sizes. And it's all about you accepting the mistakes you've made or the mistakes others have made, and forgiveness being in that. Didn't go to the gym this morning? Forgiveness.
Absolutely. And you can free yourself too, man, from some unnecessary hurt and unnecessary headaches and stress.
Yeah. That's right. That's right.
Sir.
And you know, some people, sometimes a headache doesn't come in the form of, well, yeah, it's always in the form of your head. But sometimes headaches come double because you got people that are headaches and then they make a headache in your head. It goes forgiveness. It works in all different shapes and sizes. Y'all go on and accept some things today and forgive. Don't hold on to no grudges. Jess Markham from Riverside, California. And people can follow you where, Jess? Stay connected with you.
Markham on Facebook. M-O-N-T Markham. Last name M-A-R-K-H-A-M. Markham on Facebook.
Now, see, you shouldn't have told people that because now they're going to go follow you. And and they're going to be looking for forgiveness. Thank you, Jess, for joining me.
Bro.
We're going to our politics. Show, we're going to our politics panel right now. I have the man of the hour. Thank y'all for calling in, and everybody who called in from around the country. We had Detroit on. We had folks from Arizona. We had folks from Riverside. Everyone's calling in. Chicago. The dial tones are hot. And now we're going into our politics panel with our word of the day, forgiveness. While Jess Markham from Riverside mentioned it. Well, Amos, I might need some forgiveness after I'm done with this politics panel because I am hot. Let's begin with our politics panel analyst, KTAV analyst, weekly here on the Get On Up with Shane Harris show. Amos Jones, attorney, professor, and profound leader in our country. Amos Jones, thank you for once again joining me, and we're almost
Reverend Harris. Good morning, and good morning to your listeners across the country.
And good morning to you and your listeners, because we're watching your Facebook Live. You got a lot of people tuning in, so good morning to all y'all tuning in from the East Coast. Amos Jones, what's new on the platform? Now, we got a lot to talk about between Roy Moore and Trump this morning, telling police that he wants folks to get tougher on crime, telling immigrants to get the hell out of here. And for all y'all Christians out there that don't, hell is not a bad word, okay? Y'all don't try to make this a spiritual fight, all right? We're just displaying information, all right? So I'm just telling you, quote, unquote, what Trump said. I didn't say that. You need to go talk to the president. So don't tell me, oh, Reverend, why you cussing? Reverend, what? Go ask Trump. All right. So he said this morning he told police to get the immigrants the hell out of here, quote unquote. He said, and we obviously have these sexual allegations that are plaguing from Russell Simmons to Roy Moore, who lost the Alabama election. Lots to discuss. But you have some breaking news you want to kick off with.
Well, yes, thank you. You are breaking news, Reverend Harris, once again, because this is the first interview and probably the only interview I'll be giving. It's exclusive as we file this suit this week on behalf of me and, frankly, on behalf of the students of Campbell University Law School. My students who are still there were wonderfully instrumental, black, white, Asian, Hispanic, liberal, conservative, moderate, and the outpouring of support in my classes that were overloaded. I finally decided to go ahead and do what they wanted, and that is to move for a reinstatement to that faculty. So I filed a race discrimination retaliation suit, as well as invasion of privacy, tortious interference with contract, and other charges against Campbell University and the interloping Catholic University of America in Washington. And the case was filed in the D.C. Superior Court this week. So wow. It's impacting. We've demanded a jury trial, and I'm looking forward to seeing this through, getting everybody under oath, and exposing exactly what happens when everything's going well and two or three people decide that they want to make things hard.
All right.
We got to fight back in the workplace, and this Me Too movement has helped us all to see why it's important not to wait 20 or 30 years, but to step up in real time and put the brakes on this stuff and blow the whistle. And when we do that, we'll find that we have a healthier work environment for faculty, students, staff, and a better community. The nice thing about my conflict is that it's not ideological. It's not primarily racial. This is you can read the 83-page lawsuit that was filed in D.C. Superior Court. We have painstaking detail of what went forward, and it's a sin and a shame, and thank goodness the court system will work its way through. I would go a little further, but there was already on the part of one of the defendants an effort to resolve the case.
Right.
So I'm going to let that work its way out. One of the defendants understands that they have not been served well, I guess, by the defense attorney. You know, before we go on to Roy Moore and President Trump, it's very important to look at what happened with Lisa Bloom and with David Boies, these wonderful liberal attorneys, who it turns out helped Harvey Weinstein beat down his victims into silence and non-victims all of these years. I think that it's now the time to call to account these lawyers and law firms who have lavishly billed over the years and exposed their defendant clients to more liability, more cover-ups, less diversity, and less consumer satisfaction, and a waste of everybody's money and time. It's the defense lawyers, some of them, who have enabled, encouraged, and ennobled evil to take place with all of these women who have been silenced into submission, retaliated against, and who have had their careers wrecked. And today we say no more. So I know people are joining around the country in the spirit of justice that you and Nan have marched for, Reverend Harris. I'll be marching with you, and we're going to get right down to it. So now, thank you for that. You have broken this exclusively. You got the exclusive live interview, and I'm very proud of following Attorney Crump from last week, whom you interviewed. So you are doing great things for justice, more than most lawyers do, Reverend Harris, and I thank you for that advocacy.
Well, it's an honor to hear that from you, be it the family that you come from and the region you're in. There's a lot of people on the East Coast you could say that about. But for you to be saying that from a small kid who came from the West Coast, I appreciate that. It means a lot. And be it that the family you came from, even more so, means a lot. You come from an anchorage of civil rights leadership who were the chief lieutenants of Dr. Martin Luther King. That's honorable that you're saying that. Let me ask you a quick question about your case, and then we'll go into our other stuff to talk about. But you recently had an interview in diverseeducation.com, which I encourage everyone to go read, discussing the lawsuit that alleges that Campbell officials tabled your tenured applications and really in dealing with the employment contract, faculty handbook, and or tenure, intentionally diminishing all your opportunities to pursue employment elsewhere. The 11 counts in D.C. Superior Court complaint filed earlier this week target 7 individual and corporate defendants and alleged fraud, false pretenses, breach of contract. I'm reading from diverseeducation.com. Defamation and intentional infliction of emotional distress, torturous interference with contractual relations, invasion of privacy, conversion, and civil rights violations, including retaliation. How are you mobilizing around this case? Because I know your attorneys like to fight on the inside and keep it enclosed. But how can people support you on the outside? Is there a petition on this? Is there?
Yes, the best thing people can do as the legal system makes its way through is to simply, number one, I've always said this, to pray. These are schools that have a religious heritage. I had a wonderful 6 years, 5.5 years. Nothing can change that, and they're wonderful people. Yeah. It's just one or two people decided that they were going to cause a lot of problems, and they wrecked a lot in the process, and they're wrecking a lot, and they'll wreck more. There's even a student who's named in the factual allegations here. Campbell's conduct invited students. When they posted those incorrect defamatory statements about me on Twitter in July, there were students who piled on, and they're being named and called out. Campbell should be more responsible. So what people can do is to continue to pray, but people can also call in and make sure that their voices are heard with regard to the problems that have been created by the unfair treatment of me. They've lowered the standards for almost all of the white professors. We've got the proof in the lawsuit, and they raised the expectations that I met and exceeded anyway, and it's really going to be exposed, and you're going to see just how disparate the treatment is. The other thing I'll say about the legal academy in general, you know, when you blow the whistle on these cases, on these matters, like the women who got rebuked and scorned for the last 40 years who put the brakes on sexual harassment, you find that you wind up without a job and nobody will even interview you. I went on the law teaching market this year and got one interview, whereas 7 years ago I had 52 interviews over 2 years.
Right.
And that's because people don't like it when you put your hand in the face of determined harassers who are powerful and you say, stop it, the law is on my side, and I'm going to push this and see this through. Georgetown University Law Center has hired a convicted bank robber,
right,
a white felon who was in prison for 11 years. And
right,
he's on their faculty as an assistant professor. So I guess a convicted felon who robbed banks in Nebraska is more palatable than someone who blows the whistle on harassment in the workplace. And that's a spiritual problem, Reverend,
right,
and we got to deal with that here in America immediately.
That's right. And for those of you just tuning in, I'm talking with our political analyst, Amos Jones from Washington, D.C. He's bureauing on our East Coast tuners as well, those who are listening in. Thank you, Amos, for that breaking news. We got to go on a quick break. We're going to get a petition started. I'm going to work with you on this, and I want everybody who's going to sign this. We're going to push this from National Action Network. My organization I lead, San Diego, we'll start the petition and root it out amongst NAN, but we're going to get behind you. I think it's important that you feel that support particularly, and I'll start a personal petition as a activist, civil rights leader to get behind you on this, and I'll have a petition pushed, and we're going to push this petition nationally for everybody to sign. Stay right there. We're going on a quick break. I've got Amos Jones when we get back talking about Roy Moore, talking about sexual allegations, talking about the Alabama election, talking about Trump telling police this morning to get harsher and tougher on crime and to telling immigrants to get the hell out of here. Lots to discuss. Stay right there.
Hey, everybody. This is Reverend Shane Harris. Every Friday, I hold a live radio show at 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on www.KTAV.TV. The show is called Get On Up with Reverend Shane Harris, and we discuss all of the country's issues from Washington, D.C. to your local community, social dialogue, political impact, and strategy talk. For all of our communities to realize that we don't have to get down. We got to get up and know what we're doing. So it's strategy time every Friday, 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time on Get On Up with Reverend Shane Harris on KTAV.TV.
You are listening to the San Diego station of inspiration. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. KTAV Radio. For more information on how you can advertise your business, event, or services, please visit us online at KTAV.TV or call 619-246-6131. We are also offering 30 and 60-minute time slots for your ministry or podcast. For more information on how you can become a part of KTAV Station of Inspiration lineup, please call 619-246-6131 or visit us online at ktav.tv/ministry.
All right. We're still live right here on the closing of the show, y'all. Stay locked in. Stay right there. We got a lot to discuss, and thank you for sticking in there. Those of you who are tuning in live on Facebook, thanks for tuning in. Hello to you. And for those of you who are tuning in on YouTube, hello to you. And those of you who are tuning in on KTAV.TV, hello to you.
The word of the day was forgiveness. So I want to remind y'all, just in case we forgot, by the end of the show, I'm going to need some forgiveness. Because, Amos, the thing is that this whole thing with Trump is getting out of hand. Now, we know he's a child, and we got to sit him down and talk to him like he's a baby and nurture him and give him his milk because he's such a little kid inside, it's not even funny. Now, we know that. We've learned that for those of us who didn't know that. I knew that. I mean, based on our history with Trump in New York, this is the same guy who says he's not racist. This is the same guy who had housing discriminations on him in the projects in New York because he would not house certain people of color. I mean, this guy goes back a long time. Put ads out on the Central Park 5 because he said today and still says that those black men, Corey Wise, who's a part of NAN, and other men committed those crimes in New York with the rape case, and they never raped those women. He still says, even DNA said, that we're taking those men out of jail because they are not guilty of that. Still says today that those guys, but I mean, it is egregious when you got a guy like this in the White House. I never thought I would see the day where a dummy would be holding the presidential office, but as I begin this conversation on Trump and what we heard this morning from him regarding police, let us not forget that it wasn't too long ago that the President of the United States said that he told the police unions that he met with a couple months ago, told them that y'all need to hurt the head, bang the head against the car door, let them hurt more as you're arresting them. This is the President of the United States telling people that. This morning, Amos, he got up during breaking news because he knew he had the national stage, because he manipulates the media, and he said, well, we all manipulate the media, but it's how you do it and it's the strategy behind it. And he's doing it to pursue and present racism in the country. He gets up this morning, he says, you know those immigrants out there? All y'all, he was talking to FBI agents and federal officers, and gets up and says, you know, all those immigrants, don't lock them up because we don't want to take care of them. Get them the hell out of here, quote unquote. I mean, Amos, how much longer are we going to go with a president who cannot even speak proper? At least say what you're going to say, but say it proper.
Well, Reverend Harris, I believe that of course, we always respect the office of the presidency. And the Bible,
well, he's not my president. He's not my president.
The Bible tells us that we have people in leadership, and we always pray for them because, we do. And
well, I'll leave the prayers up to you. Go ahead.
We would hope, right? We would hope that we would have more sensitivity on many fronts out of the White House with regard to women's rights and women's suffering. We would hope that we would have more sensitivity in criminal justice. That is, I think, the best thing that we can do at this point. This is a president who does tend to be inflammatory toward everybody, including the people he chooses to dismiss.
Right.
I will say that it's interesting. He did go to the Civil Rights Museum opening.
Yeah, and well, wait a minute. We're going to talk about that. We definitely going to talk about that. Yeah.
Right, I know. And
I have a lot to say.
I would just say that here's what I'm in downtown D.C. at the moment, and what I wish we would do is do what the Bible says and try to win people over.
Oh, see now, Amos.
We used to try to win people over.
See, brother, I love you. Hold on. Amos, now you know I love you. You know I got a lot of respect for you. And you know that I thank you for being on this show every week. And I don't bring you on to hammer you. But, brother, I'm sorry. I don't think we can win Mr. Trump over. I think we've all tried. I think
you might be correct. It doesn't look good.
I don't know.
I must say it doesn't look good.
I mean, I know the Lord says salvation is free for everyone, but I just don't know if this guy is reeling him in. I don't know if we're...
Well, I'll say this. If we can't win him over, maybe at least we can get him to raise the percentage of Small Business Administration-backed loans that go to blacks from 1% to maybe 5%, because now it's 1%, and I'm here in a financial district in Washington, and 1% of Small Business Administration-backed loans are going to black companies. Maybe, and that's after Barack Obama and Eric Holder and Loretta Lynch. We should make, and Frank Franklin Raines, et cetera, and Mel Watt. If we could just make that 5 like Richard Nixon tried to do, maybe if we just got that, because I think you're right that temperamentally we're heading downhill on this in this presidency, I think.
Now speaking of that, because we got to scroll on to the next topic, but unfortunately we have a president who's continuing to take us backward on criminal justice reform. He made that clear this morning. Let's send those immigrants back. Get them the hell out of here. We're going to, you have an administration, he said this, who's supporting police in full. We do not plan to support citizens. We support the police entirely. So this is the mindset of this administration, taking the country backwards on criminal justice reform. We're going to get tougher on crime. We're going back to drugs, the war on drugs. We're going to get tougher and tougher. We like the gang documentation. We like the police killings, and we're going to keep supporting police who kill multiple people. All of that kind of mindset, which makes it more important for us to work with our attorney generals on the state level, because they are going. Hopefully you have somebody like Attorney General Becerra in California who's going to push back against the administration. But he's still, our Attorney General, not investigating police shootings. This is why we keep needing to pursue our state Attorney Generals on investigating these police shootings. But let me ask you this, Amos, the tax plan, because a lot of people need context here. Now, Republicans and Democrats have criticized the president's tax plan. What is the reality of this tax plan? Help people out understand, because it sounds to me like we're going back to Reaganomics, which is trickle-down economics, which we start from the top and go down instead of starting from down to the top. Explain this tax plan.
Well, and the tax plan, it really is Reaganomics. The Republican conservative philosophy is that by lowering corporate taxes and lowering taxes on people, certain taxes on people who earn quite a bit, that investment will be made and it will create jobs and also raise tax revenue.
Right.
On the low end, Senator Rubio, of all people, the Florida conservative, is holding up the bill now because he wants there to be a bigger child tax credit. And remember, people with a lot of children who have incomes less than $60,000 or $50,000 often still have zero federal tax liability by the time they get their credits and other deductions. So, it is Reaganomics. That's the philosophy. Now, the more Democratic view, which left us with surpluses after President Clinton did a slight increase on taxing at the marginal higher levels, we had a long period of sustained economic growth, and we had a surplus when President Clinton left in 2001. And so it seems to me, I thought that the verdict was already in, that so-called supply side or trickle down has its limits. But we're taking another chance here, and now we have the idea that these big corporate giants with billions of dollars, like Apple, who are having factories overseas, they prefer American workers, and the thought is that they will bring those jobs back. It's a gamble. We have not seen that happen. But nevertheless, that's the philosophy. You're exactly right, and it's going to be a tough sell, because I think taking money from the less advantaged people and appearing to redistribute that to the more advantaged people, right, gives a lot of people pause, especially when the disparities in wealth now are huger than they've ever been in American history and recent history.
Right. Now, let me ask you about the tax plan in regards to the votes. Are the votes there? You know, there's a big question about Rubio. He's big on this vote. Are the votes there to get this tax bill through? Because the president wants to get something done at the end of this year. The tax plan is his get something done moment. Is this going to go through before the end of the year?
I expect
and obviously, and then let me explain to people so they understand. It obviously has to go through before the end of the year, because if it doesn't, his base is going to be angry that nothing's gotten done this year. So,
and America will be angry. That's the answer. You're exactly right. And that's why Marco Rubio. Hey, look, the vote of one. This brings up the Alabama thing. As you know, I have to be out of here at 1 Eastern, 10 Pacific. But Marco Rubio, or one or two senators, maybe one of our African American senators, can get some things in here because the Republicans are so desperate to have a legislative victory.
Right.
Look, Alabama, the black vote, the black women got Doug Jones over there. Last week, I thought that Roy Moore still had the edge, only slightly. Black women and blacks turned out higher, and with higher percentages for Doug Jones than they did for Barack Obama.
I want to play that.
So, you can hold the power at the right time.
Right now, I want to play. I want to play the speech Doug Jones had. For those of you who watched the Alabama election, I want to break down this quick election.
I'm going to sign off, Reverend Harris, because they've got to take this.
I need you. So. I need you just for 2 more minutes. We got to get you this last
piece. From my mobile.
All right, we got to get you this last piece. I'm going to play this quick snippet of Doug Jones speaking after he won the Alabama election. Let's listen in.
I got to tell you, I think that I have been waiting all my life, and now I just don't know what the hell to say. Let me, if you will indulge me just a moment. Well, no. Well, let's just get sworn in first before we. Folks, I'm overwhelmed, but I want to let me first make a couple of kind of brief comments. You know, I have said throughout this campaign that I thought that December 12th was going to be a historic day. But I got to tell you, and you know where I'm headed, December 12th has always been a historic day for the Jones family. This is, as you know, mine and Louise's 25th wedding anniversary. My running mate, my partner. I could not have done this. We have shown the country the way that we can be unified. We have spent so many hours. I have got so many people that I can thank, but I will tell you just very quickly. There are 3 people that I want to acknowledge tonight, because if it wasn't for them, we would not be here. They're the folks that sat me down in early May and said, Doug, you can do this, and they showed me the way. And I want to make sure that everyone in this room, and we had an incredible staff. It started with a small group of folks, Jess and Wade and Trey and Garrett. But the 3 people I need to acknowledge before I go any further. I have the greatest political consultant in the world in Joe Trippi. I know you're tired of seeing my ads, but they were all Joe's work, and he showed me the way. Doug Turner, who've been friends for so long, showed me the numbers. And then the one that I called the Yoda of the campaign, Giles Perkins. Giles has had his. The people of Alabama have spoken. They have said They have said to each other that I have said from the very beginning, this campaign has never been about me. It's never been about Roy Moore. It has been about every one of you. We have come so far, and the people of Alabama have spoken. It was every community. Phone calls around the state. It was every community. You know, I keep hearing about the different communities in this state. The African American community, thank you.
Now let's listen to that again. Doug Jones acknowledges in Alabama the African American community voted. Let's listen in what Doug Jones had to say, thanking the African American community who turned out in large number, black women and black men, to make that election happen. Let's listen in.
Communities in this state. The African American community, thank you. My friends in the Latino community, thank you. To all my Jewish friends, happy Hanukkah.
So as we all watched Amos, and I know you've got to go, But as we all watched, it was a monumental day to watch this election. Lots of momentum now on the Democratic side and excitement from those of us even in the civil rights movement knowing his history. Doug Jones has a long-standing history with racism. He was a part of the KKK, then transformed his life and began to see America in a different light. Left the KKK and went on to become an advocate, then a prosecutor. He was the one who prosecuted those who killed those 4 little girls in that Alabama church. I mean, so much history here, and such a very powerful, gut-wrenching election that we were all watching to see how the turnout was going to happen, Amos. But he goes on to acknowledge first the African-American community, which we all know made the vote happen. I think they said 92% of black women who were stood behind Doug Jones, 95% of black women, 92% of African-American men. I almost called you Doug. Amos, this was a big win, and I felt the momentum all the way from the West Coast because it was big for America, because Roy Moore did represent pedophilia. He did represent hate. If you or I got blocked from the local mall, if Plaza Bonita here in San Diego blocked Shane because he was looking at little girls, I mean, that is enough evidence to speak up for someone being a pedophile. I mean, that is just, you don't need to prove the cases. I mean, the mall proves it. So for many reasons, this was a big, and let me ask you this, Amos, how big was this to watch from your seat at home? Because Doug Jones won this, and he shocked the world, or shocked America. Let's listen in to what your thoughts are about this election.
Yes. Well, first of all, this was a nail-biter. MSNBC and NBC News could not call that election until well after everyone else to be sure it was so close. I think that it confirmed that black voters in these states that are heavily black, and Alabama is one of the most heavily African-American states in the Union. I think it's 26% black, which means the Democratic Party is probably about 55% roughly African-American down there. So if you can mobilize that group and turn them out, again, Doug Jones and folk did it. That Terry, I think it's that her name is Terry. She's the only Democrat in their congressional delegation. She's a black woman, brilliant black woman,
right?
And she, I think, helped her district as parts of Birmingham, the black rural belt, in Selma, where she's from.
Right.
And I think she was on stage. She was the African-American woman on stage behind Doug Jones. I think that she was just beaming because it's the sleeping giant. But this also means that if just a sliver of the black vote switches directions, then we could, you could have influence another way as well at times. Like when Mark Green lost the mayoral election in New York City,
right,
when he was disrespectful to blacks, and Reverend Sharpton rightfully withheld his endorsement, and Michael Bloomberg won an upset victory. Or when Bill de Blasio won his upset victory over Quinn because black voters went for de Blasio, who reflected their values,
as they should have,
and their priorities,
as they should have. And I've said this I've said this, yeah, Amos, on several extents. Just because you're black doesn't mean you get my vote. I mean, absolutely, these guys, they come along, they use,
you're a Democrat,
right?
Or just because you're a Democrat.
Well, yeah, but
Bloomberg was not really,
correct. But I see it all the time in my community in San Diego. You got black candidates running right now. I know there's a county supervisor race. You got 2 black candidates who think they're worthy of the black vote just because they're black. I mean, I'm getting ready to support who supports our initiative, and that person may be white. Hit. But I think that there's got to be a real big clarity and understanding that Reverend Sharpton went for de Blasio because de Blasio said he was going to take care of stop and frisk. We got to go where our interests are and not just based on the color of skin.
And I'll say that we're waking up. One thing I love, and this relates back to what I see on these inspiring university campuses where I've had the privilege of teaching with our youngsters, especially blacks, whites, liberals, conservatives, Democrats. A lot of Republican white women went for Doug Jones.
Yep.
People are really beginning to wake up and realize that these partisan...
Wait. I'm sorry, but I got to disagree with you. I understand what you're saying, but the white women, here we go with white women again.
The CNN poll showed us that white women and white men went behind Roy Moore. Now, we know that.
But my point, Shane, is there were white women who would have voted Republican who either stayed home or voted for Doug Jones because Roy Moore was so bad.
And I would agree. And I would agree with that.
When the election was won by 15,000 votes, we have to, just like 30% of Hispanics voted for Donald Trump and 14% of black men voted for Donald Trump. We have to look at the power that we wield
black men
in a fairly reflective democratic process.
But again, it is our progressive and conservative white brothers and sisters, and I call them that from a standpoint of that's. I hope that they'll come to that standard one day. White men and white women nationally and in Alabama have shown us that they do not stand loyal to us like they say they do. When the vote comes down to the tally, they vote against our interests, not for us, and supporting us. And you saw that during the election. You had a lot of white people say, oh, I'm not supporting Donald Trump. Even progressives who are marching in the Women's March now because they are repenting because they were the ones who supported Donald Trump.
Here's what I mean. I think it's Terry Sewell. If Congresswoman Terry from Alabama, the African-American woman who's a liberal Democrat, if she's looking at statewide office in Alabama, she has a formula. You can get, the only way she's going to do it is to make some inroads into the white bloc vote or the conservative bloc vote. And Barack Obama tapped into that. That's why he won Virginia. I mean, so I'm not saying the victory is attributable of Doug Jones to white women. What I'm saying is white women, any of whom would have voted Republican regardless, decided no, not this time, and at the very least stayed home. And non-voting can make the difference too. So, again, if we're going to come together and stop all the vitriol, because let's be honest about this, Roy Moore got more than 49% of the vote in Alabama. So the Democratic Party still has a big problem when someone who was accused of being thrown out of a mall, barred from a mall for ogling girls, a grown man, you know, if that's your issue and you haven't campaigned in 2 weeks and you still get more than 49% of the vote.
Yeah, that's a concern.
And Doug Jones didn't get more. So the Democratic Party still has some real issues. That's what it takes to get a Democrat elected in Alabama. When they elected Democrats, when Senator Shelby was a Democrat, Howell Heflin was a Democrat, Al Gore and Bill Clinton were Southerners from Tennessee. And, you know, we've just given up on all that all of a sudden.
Right.
And at that level, it's not so much racial as it is cultural, and we have to deal with that.
Yeah, and that is where, and Doug Jones wasn't paying enough attention to black voters. Here we go again. You have a reality. They were putting robocalls out 3 days before the election with Obama's line on it, thinking that was going to engage black voters. Black voters want to hear from you before you take them to bed. You ought to take them on a date. I mean, let's be real here. Let's be real here. Now, I know it's explicit. Y'all tuned in to Get On Up with Shane Harris. Y'all, let's be real here. Y'all go on dates, and some of y'all lay down the first night. I mean, y'all know that. I mean, in our tradition, we believe that you ought to get married first. But for those of y'all out there screwing everybody, let me make it explicit and clear so that all y'all sinners can understand. So y'all can understand exactly how it works. You cannot take somebody on a date, then take them to bed that night and get to know them. You got to get to know them by dating them, and then maybe in the world. I'm talking about the world now. This is how y'all date. I'm just giving y'all some explicit conversation here so we can understand the election. Y'all,
as someone who...
The problem was that Doug Jones was dating... Doug Jones was trying to take him on a date and take him to bed at the same time. You can't do that.
As someone who condemns fornication in absolute terms, I prefer to use the Reverend Al Sharpton metaphor. And that is when Al Sharpton...
That was the metaphor I just used.
Reverend Sharpton years ago said that the Democratic Party too frequently has treated black people like a mistress.
Yeah, there you go. All right, there's the more particular way. And I'm not. And just so y'all can understand, I'm not Reverend Al Sharpton. I'm Reverend Shane Harris. I came to tell y'all my version of explicacy, and y'all to understand this election. You are dealing with a context of
Doug Jones wanted to take them to bed and date them at the same time. He took them to Ruth Chris's, and then took them home the same night, trying to get the vote. You have got to take them to Denny's, then you take them to Applebee's, then you take them to what's the next place, Doc? You know.
Well, no, I guess Bruce Chris. I don't understand. It doesn't go to fornication.
Well, because you don't take. I can give y'all my context. I ain't taking a girl to Ruth Chris's on the first date, even though I could pay for it. I'm taking her to Denny's or Yogurtland even to get some frozen yogurt so we can understand each other, and then we might get to Ruth Chris's after a while. If you are still there, I'm taking people that have been there to Ruth Chris's, not people that just showed up. So Doug Jones was looking for a Ruth Chris's date on a night where he should have been taking them to Denny's and months ago engaging the black community, which is again brings up the problem you're talking about, because you have a sexual pedophilia like Roy Moore. You have somebody who has been racist. He got up even at the rally after he lost and said to all those white people standing in that room, we want to thank the Bible believers. This is not over yet. God is not finished. No, bro, God was finished at the election when you lost. You need to repent and step up and accept your loss, not keep using God as a keystone to try to make you right about everything. And that is what the problem with these conservative Christians is. I want to know, where are all the pastors who were supposed to be coming out against Roy Moore and saying that's wrong? We've got to stand against that, whether he's a Christian or not. This is about dealing with facts, Amos, and we've got to be able to do that. Amos, quick question as we go into the end of the show. What do people need to do to understand? Well, I think Democrats should learn from Alabama that you cannot take them on a date and to bed at the same night. Start engaging black communities across the nation now if you want that congressional or Senate seat won by Democrats. Dems have to understand that you cannot date to take them and use them. You must date to build an understanding and to build a relationship with the black community so that you do not use them, so that when you show up for taking them to bed, they're ready to go to bed with you. They're ready to go to the paint for you. They're ready to stand out and say, we need to vote this person over that person, and these are the reasons why. But if they don't know the issues you stand for, if they don't know what you represent, all y'all Dems, stop trying to show up late in the game, trying to use robocalls and other tools to get the black vote. You need to step your game up and get the black vote by earning it. So that's my final point, Amos. Closing words. In the next week, a lot is going to happen, and I want you to help us bring context. In the next week, a lot is going to happen. What is
Let's watch. Yeah.
What is the biggest thing for you in this next week that we all need to watch?
I want us to keep an eye on, obviously, the Russia investigation. That's always interesting to see what's next. But really to keep an eye on who gets what in this tax bill. Right. Because there are one vote can make a difference. Marco Rubio.
Go ahead. Sorry, we lost you.
Represented here.
Right.
You got me? Yeah. Will different constituencies be represented? And if so, to what extent? Right. To make this bill that most moderates, liberals and moderates, think is a horrible bill, how can we make the best of a situation that's probably Russian roulette with our budget? That's the question. And so
I don't think
keep an eye on who's doing what.
I think we make something in here. I think we make it the best by giving the middle class and the poor a tax cut, and not giving the rich a tax cut. That's how I think we do that best, Amos, in my opinion. Yeah. I mean, it's egregious what they're trying to do. You can't go trickle down. We've been down that street before. We know it doesn't work. This is a Reaganomics trick. This is not a 21st century play to give other people the opportunities that they deserve. And I think the poor and the middle class deserve the cuts. I think the rich should get cuts, but they should get less cuts than the poor and the middle class. If we want to be the country that represents, and I'm challenging everyone to call their senators and tell them do not vote on this tax bill because it would be egregious for our communities. And it would deal with Obamacare, which they cannot get rid of. So definitely, like you're saying, Amos is leaving us with our last words. We've gone a little bit over this morning. Amos has left us with our last words that we need to be watching the tax bill. Thank you, Amos, so much.
Thank you.
And remember, Amos, take them on dates. And then,
I'm traditional. You know, I'm a conservative.
I know you believe in. You are a courting guy. First you court, then you date, then you. I mean,
go down the aisle.
The whole process.
And then it's Ruth's Chris or whatever it is you call it. You know, whatever this metaphor.
Well, I don't mind taking a girl that I haven't. I don't mind. Well, Amos, I don't mind taking a girl that is Ruth Chris worth after a while to Ruth Chris. But we're going to have to work our way there. And it's not because I don't have the money. I could take you to Ruth Chris right now. It's because I will not take you to Ruth Chris right now if you are not Ruth Chris material right now. I need to see what material you are so that I can work my way there. We can go get frozen yogurt, though. Thank you, Amos, so much for joining me today. And y'all, thank you for watching. All right, here on Get On Up with Reverend Shane Harris. Remember, whatever you do, however you do it, whichever way you do it, remind yourself that you cannot give up, because you must get up.